Welcome back to the deep dive. If I say the words chat room, I bet most of you get this instant picture in your head.
Oh, absolutely. Something retro, right? Like a dusty AOL interface from the 90s.
Exactly. That, or maybe just a dark screen with some anonymous person typing away, it has this historical baggage.
It really does. It's often associated with that early internet nostalgia, or maybe less flatteringly, with the sort of chaotic Wild West of online anonymity.
Right. But the thing is, the chat rooms people are actually using right now in 2026 are a whole different world. They're far from that old stereotype.
It's a very specialized behavior now, and it's pretty distinct from, say, the endless scrolling you see on mainstream social media.
So today, we're diving deep into the sources you've pulled together to paint a really precise modern picture of who's in these spaces and maybe more importantly, why.
And I think we need to define our terms first, because chat room is a really broad label.
Good.
For this analysis, we're focusing on real-time public or semi-public communication. So that means those anonymous chat sites, but also huge community platforms like Discord.
Okay, so group chats, community servers.
Exactly. But we're explicitly not including the private one-on-one messengers, things like WhatsApp or Signal.
Got it. We're focused on the act of seeking out a public conversation.
Right. And our mission is to distill all this data into 4 key areas. First, who are they? So age and gender.
Then, how do they use it? Time spent.
And finally, the big one, what they're looking for, the purpose.
And I think we have to start by tackling the most persistent myth of all.
The age question.
The age question. The stereotype is that this is just a playground for teenagers, but the data shows something completely different, doesn't it?
It really does. The core audience is firmly post-high school. The numbers are just unequivocal on this.
Okay, so what are we talking about here?
Across most of the major platforms, both the anonymous kind and the community-based ones, roughly 2/3 of all users are under 35. That's a solid 65 to 70%.
2/3. So while Gen Z is in there, the real heart of it is older Gen Z and millennials.
Precisely. If you're trying to picture the average user, you should probably stop thinking about a 15-year-old and start thinking about someone who's, maybe been in the workforce for a few years.
Do you have a specific example from the sources?
Yeah, look at a platform like Omegle. It's the definition of spontaneous anonymous chat. The 18 to 34 bracket completely owns that space. About 38% are 18 to 24, and another 27% are 25 to 34.
So the core audience is concentrated right in their 20s and early 30s.
Exactly. And even platforms that we think of as younger, like Discord, are showing this, what I'd call a maturity curve.
Right, it started with a very young gaming audience.
It did. Lots of high school and college kids. But as it's expanded into, general interest, study groups, even business, we're seeing this growing minority of users in their late 30s and even 40s.
So the platforms are aging up with their user base.
The users are just sticking around.
Okay, so that trend seems clear. But this is where the analysis gets really fascinating, because there's a huge exception to this rule.
This is the aha moment in the data, for sure. It proves you can't just paint all chat rooms with the same brush.
The platform type dictates the age.
Completely. Fast, anonymous chat skews young. But these niche or legacy community platforms, they attract a much older crowd.
And the prime example from the sources is?
Paul Talk. It's a long-standing, interest-based video chat community.
Okay.
And unlike those quick in-and-out sites, Paul Talk has built up these really sticky, long-term communities. And the demographics there are, well, they're wildly different.
How different are we talking?
More than half of its users are over 45. The single largest age group is actually 55 to 64 years old.
Wait, really? The biggest group is 55 to 64. So on one hand, you have Omegle, where most people are under 35, and then Paul Talk, where the majority are pushing 50 or older. That's a massive contrast.
It is, and it suggests older adults aren't avoiding real-time chat. They're just looking for structure, for familiarity, maybe an environment that's less friction than, mainstream social media, which can feel overwhelming.
They're like digital clubhouses.
That's a perfect way to put it, digital town halls. And once those communities form, the users are incredibly loyal. They'll stick around for decades.
So the takeaway is pretty clear. If you want to know the age of the user, you first have to ask what kind of chat they're looking for. Is it spontaneous or is it community?
Exactly. Now, moving from age to gender, we see a similar pattern. The overall trend is that online chat tends to be male-skewed.
Right.
But again, the degree of that skew changes dramatically depending on the platform's structure.
So on the most unstructured, anonymous platforms, how bad is it?
It's pretty significant. On sites like Omegle, the split is about 66% male to 34% female, so 2 to 1.
2 to 1.
And on others, like chat.com, it's estimated to be even more skewed, something like 77% male.
Wow. So the vast majority of these spontaneous, anonymous conversations are being driven by men.
They are.
When you see an imbalance that severe, you have to ask why. Is it just a difference in interest, or is there something about the environment itself?
The sources strongly suggest it's the environment. Specifically, it's about moderation and safety.
Okay.
The male skew is highest, where accountability is 0, in those Wild West sites. The analysis points out that women face a disproportionate amount of harassment, and that's a powerful deterrent. It just pushes them away from those free-for-all spaces.
So the mechanism is pretty simple. The more anonymous it is, the lower the accountability and the bigger the male majority.
That's the correlation.
So where did that balance start to come back?
It comes back as soon as you introduce identity or community structure. Look at Paul Talk again. It requires profiles, it operates in group rooms, not random one-on-one pairings.
Right, there's more structure.
And that provides a higher level of safety and moderation, and the gender ratio shows it. It's nearly even about 55% male to 45% female.
And what about a modern giant like Discord?
Discord is fascinating. It's currently at that 2 to 1 ratio, so 66% male, 33% female. But the trend is changing, and fast.
How so?
Well, the prediction is that these identity-based communities, the ones built around niche interests with good moderation tools, will just continue to see female participation rise. Some think it could approach a 1 to 1 ratio by 2030.
That focus on a shared, specific interest seems to create a safer space.
It does. It's a powerful validation of the idea that structure attracts diversity. We even see this when you compare it to something like dating apps.
Which are also male-heavy.
They are, yeah, usually around a 60-40 ratio, but they're still less skewed than the pure anonymous chat sites.
Because they force you to have a profile.
Exactly. They have built-in accountability, verified photos, registration. That small requirement for an identity makes all the difference. It reinforces the whole idea. If you want a diverse user base, you have to provide structure and safety.
Okay, let's shift from who the users are to how they behave. Because the time commitment feels like another massive differentiator between chat rooms and the rest of the internet.
It is. The contrast is mind-boggling when you put the numbers side by side.
Social media is all about chronic, continuous attention.
Right. We know the global benchmark. The average person spends about 2 hours and 24 minutes on social media every single day.
That's the definition of chronic engagement.
Right.
So how does the anonymous chat user compare to that?
They are the polar opposite. Anonymous chat sessions are designed for brevity. The average visit on a huge platform like Omegle is only about 8 minutes and 22 seconds long.
8 minutes. That's it.
That's it. Users are just dipping in, sampling a conversation, and they're gone if it's not stimulating right away. It's transactional, short burst usage.
That 8-minute average is a huge analytical nugget. It tells you these spaces aren't for building relationships. They're for immediate social triage.
It's like striking up a very quick, ephemeral conversation in a crowd. The platform is built for churn. It doesn't use algorithms to keep you hooked for hours. It just connects you to the next person.
Okay, but what about the community platforms? Discord, for example. Surely the time investment is higher there.
It's more sustained, yes, but still drastically lower than social media. Discord users average about 2 hours per week.
Per week.
Which is roughly 17 minutes a day. It's nothing compared to the 2.5 hours a day we see elsewhere.
2 hours a week versus over 2 hours a day. That's the difference between background noise and a focused activity.
And what's interesting is the concentration of that time. When users do log into Discord, the average visit is around 18 minutes. It suggests they're logging in with a purpose.
Right, to join a specific discussion or an event.
It's focused interaction, not just passive scrolling while you're waiting for the bus.
The lesson seems clear. Chat rooms are session-based. You log in to scratch a social itch, you engage, and then you log out. It's the total opposite of the always-on mentality of a Facebook or TikTok. So since the usage is so focused, the question of when people log in becomes really revealing.
It does. We know the standard internet peak is in the evening, the internet rush hour from 7 to 11 p.m.
Sure.
Chat rooms are part of that, but they show a stronger push later into the night, often past 9 p.m., sometimes deep into the early morning.
So why the late-night preference?
The sources are very clear on this. That late-night spike is driven by the search for conversation prompted by loneliness or boredom.
Okay, that makes sense.
As the rest of the world quiets down, social options diminish, and people turn to these platforms for that immediate companionship. The quiet hours are when people often feel most isolated.
That psychological driver is key. Do we see specific weekly patterns that back this up?
We do. Weeknights are active, but Friday and Saturday see the biggest spikes for casual, anonymous chat. People looking for spontaneity when they might not have plans.
And then there's Sunday evening. The data you shared showed Sunday as this really critical time.
It's the classic Sunday surge. We see it clearly in dating apps. They peak between 7 and 10 p.m. on Sundays. Chat rooms see a big uptick then, too.
And the theory is that it's about anxiety for the week ahead.
Exactly. The realization that the weekend is over, the isolation of the coming week is setting in. And that drives people to seek connection, whether it's for dating or just general conversation.
So the usage patterns are basically a chart of our collective social anxiety.
In a way, yeah. And the huge spikes on platforms like Omegle during the COVID lockdowns just confirms it. When in-person interaction becomes impossible, these are the digital resources people turn to.
Which brings us to the final question. The big why. We've established this is a niche behavior. What specific need are these platforms filling that Instagram or Facebook can't?
It seems to boil down to immediacy and low stakes.
Right. Social media is about performance. Dating apps are about high-stakes filtering. What does a chat room provide?
Instant synchronous dialogue. On an anonymous chat site, the conversation itself is the goal. There's no expectation of meeting up, no profile to maintain, and zero social cost if the interaction goes nowhere.
You're just looking for a quick hit of entertainment or a place to vent.
And that immediate, ephemeral nature is exactly what social media doesn't offer. On Facebook, you post something and you wait for likes.
On Discord, you talk and you get an instant response.
Precisely. That real-time hangout feeling is the engine for community platforms like Discord. It gives you the sensation of being in a room with people who share your very specific interest.
And does that shared interest lead to people sticking around longer?
Absolutely. The user retention is far higher. The data shows platforms built around these persistent communities have phenomenal loyalty. For example, 88% of U.S. Discord users say they're likely to keep using the platform long-term.
So you have two different needs being filled. Anonymous chat is transactional, a quick hit of social interaction.
And community chat is relational, a place to belong. But the common thread is that desire for authentic, real-time interaction. They satisfy needs that the big, passive social media platforms have just overlooked.
So let's recap the modern profile of a chat room user in 2026.
Okay.
They are primarily 18 to 34. Though these structured communities are keeping an older generation engaged, they're also disproportionately male, mostly because a lack of moderation tends to chase women away.
And their behavior isn't about chronic addiction. It's defined by these short, intense sessions, averaging just about 8 minutes, with usage peaking late at night, often driven by a need to combat loneliness or that Sunday night anxiety.
And this brings us back to this fascinating implication. If millions of people are driven by this search for companionship, this need to fight loneliness, but the preferred medium for that search is an interaction that lasts, on average, just 8 minutes and 22 seconds. What does that tell us about the state of genuine human connection online?
That's the profound question, isn't it? Are these brief, disposable chats a genuine form of social engagement? Or are they more like a social painkiller, a quick dose of interaction that treats the symptom of loneliness without ever really satisfying the underlying need for deep connection?
A temporary fix.
Exactly. And if neither the curated stream of social media nor the brief hit of anonymous chat can truly provide that depth, what kind of new platform, one built for persistence and genuine vulnerability, will be needed to satisfy that human need for belonging next?
Something to mull over until our next deep dive. Thanks for joining us.